list out on the street. The other thing about this is one of the few facilities that this council has where it actually teaches and trains lifeguards, and therefore there will be a dearth of lifeguards if we get through this. But you know, I rang the chief executive and he said legally, you know, they were on a sound basis, but what about morally? I mean, if somebody was closing the door on 12 or 13 workers in this town, we would have councillors, I mean, one of the Kilkeel councillors kicked up about a hotel being closed down and we should do this and we should do that. And here we are, our council, turning round and doing the exact same, and no reason for it other than it's convenient. And it's not that we're even going to take their slot because of the rates. The council staff will need the staff, it will make it beyond our approach. But then there's another issue, Chair, which again people have been raising, is the rates hike of entrance into our leisure facilities. And I'm blaming the councillors for this. I'm certainly not blaming our council officials, because a less able child has gone up from £5.75 to £165. People who are concession, people who are on benefits, is going from £90 10p up to £165. And then we've changed the age of retirement, because it used to be someone who was retired was allowed to get a concession from they were 60 years of age in our swimming pool. But now we've bumped it up to 65, so whether you're a female or a male doesn't matter anymore. Our council, as far as we're concerned, is you can only retire when you're 65. And we've bumped that up from £335 to £65 a year, or for life, sorry, if you live very long after that. So there's an example of some of the scandalous hikes in the prices. And I certainly need answers, and I know, Mickey, you said that the Shadow Council was considering this and that it would be held in abeyance until a decision is held. But I mean, some of us councillors aren't privy to what the Shadow Council is doing, and sometimes maybe care less. But we certainly are being lobbied on this issue, where old people, people with disabilities and pensioners and people with benefits are being kicked in the teeth because we're merging with Down. And why didn't we level down instead of levelling up? And this is the thin end of the wedge. How many other prices is going to go up? Is our sports centre price is going to go up? Is our burial price is going to go up? And it just, where does it end? So I'd like to know from the councillors who sat in that, where are we with regard to this?
Chairman, can I come in and just answer some of the queries the council currently? Council Curran, just to let you know, the council as it currently is will complete on the 31st of March. The council and the officials have a responsibility of ensuring that all the contracts, the licences, releases that the council has at that point in time will cease. Now, officials did issue a letter to the clubs because under the Tenancy Act the council has a responsibility of giving a month's notice, so that's what we have done. However, the decision on whether or not the lessons will continue or will be changed is a responsibility of the Super Council, the executive in shadow format at the moment. Any negotiations in that will have to be considered to them, because you as a council don't have the responsibility for what happens after the 1st of April 2015. And on the issue of the charges, again, it's not for me as chief executive of the council to answer, because that is a decision that has been taken by the Super Council. So any issues raised in those two matters are really for discussion with the Super Council and not with the council.
Curran in line with what you just heard from the Chief Executive, the last council to keep their comments brief, and as Brendan has alluded to already, I did say at the last meeting, the subcommittee meeting when it was raised, that it has been sent back to development within the new council for to be dealt. That meeting doesn't take place next week, so the new council haven't had that opportunity yet. So briefly, Councillor Patterson.
Yes, briefly, Chairman Frank Feeley. I accept that the new council will have the responsibilities of setting the charges and going with the new legislation. But the reason why I raised it last week in Asia is because I wanted to give some of the new members and some of the officers a taste of what is happening out on the ground. And I would happen to be in the swimming pool, I usually quite a bit. And when I was in it last Friday, I was just going in I actually leave earlier than the normally did. And it was because there's so many people were really irate about it. In particular, a lot of our female colleagues who they were pointing out to me that they're 60 years of age now, and they're pension age, and that is going to be raised now to 65, and it was just really Tory policy to raise their pension age to 65 before the new elections is coming in. So our council is doesn't have policy, and that's the sort of issues that they were raising, and I'm just going to give you a taste. So with the new members that's going to in order to these new policies, and if you get a taste of it, that's the reason why I raised it recently. And I'm sure some of the new council members are the same, but I don't think it's moved by the latter, and that's the reason why I raised it.
Yes, the same issue, Councillor Reilly?
Yes, Chairman.
Very briefly, Henry.
Yeah, Chairman, just to concur with the other two councillors, because it's not even my ward, but I have received numerous messages of concern, because it does seem, and this message has got out there, that the vulnerable and the disabled are going to be hugely and disproportionately affected with this. And I think as somebody who's going to serve in the new council, certainly I would want these people to know that we will be fighting their case very strongly indeed. But the message needs to get out that this will be looked at very seriously, and none of these things are set in stone at the moment. But it is causing a tremendous amount of concern.
Okay, Councillor Hyland.
Yeah, just echo the sentiments of others. I also been approached by people worried about the swimming, the reduction in swimming lessons, and the fact that the person who provided those swimming lessons did so over a considerable period of time. And many people throughout the district recognise this and follow their feed. He's received emails from people in the United States, Canada, many parts of Europe. I think that we're doing him a disservice by using his services. And
That's right, and it might be better not to visualise the debate.
That's okay, but I still like that, you know, the highlight and say that a lot of people in Newry are concerned over this issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, councillors. Move on to item number 4, report to the Community Sport Public Works Meeting on the 29th of January. Have we a proposer?
Proposed, yeah.
And Monitor item. Report of the Sports Development Meeting on the 4th of February. Again, proposer, Councillor Mourne, seconder. Councillor Murphy.
We'll do the next person just to set up the members, make the members just at item 10.
Happy enough. Number 6, the report of the Ulster Scots Committee on Thursday the 5th of February. Councillor Mourne, Councillor Hyland, and then again number 7, the report of the Irish Language Committee on the same night. Councillor Hyland, Councillor Casey, and Monitor Eisen. Number 8, the report of the Scrutiny Committee meeting on the 9th of February. Proposed Councillor Burns, the seconder Councillor Reilly. Are you looking in? Are you seconding it? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Reilly.
Chairman, I'm just a bit concerned. I see there's a lot of issues coming through here where quite large amounts of funding have been agreed. I've no issues provided with going through due process. But I did point out last week that there is significant amount of money in capital for our land that most likely will not be spent this year. And I asked that it be given serious consideration that we could maybe move that around in a couple of different projects. Now, it's time's going on, and I don't want to see that money all stand on anymore. If we can give that very serious consideration over the next few days, Chairman, that's all I'm
I
asking.
think Henry, a meeting was called for the morning's council to discuss that, so that will take
When would it be?
very soon.
Because Chairman, you know and Eddie knows that the loan with that is gone. I don't want it running into the new financial year. And then Jared came around and told me, sorry, that money's gone, Henry, you do it.
And for the information for the member, I would just say that we did raise that at a meeting recently. I discussed it with the Director of Finance following the and the degree for the Mourne's meeting, and I reinforced the point that the council is sitting on the 50,000 the area. However, some of that money has already been spent on the harbour on a number of things. It's not 50,000 anymore, I think it's about 33,000.
Thank you, very sad. Thank you, Chairman.
No one else, then we move on to item number 9, report of the Health Service Working Group on the 29th of January.
Proposed, Chair.
Councillor McArdle, second, Councillor Feeley.
Comments.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, on that day, the commissioning group, they kept giving the impression and emphasising all the time, 7 days, 7 days. But in actual fact, the 7 days from Craigavon to Lurgan, 7 days, and the rest had amounted to 37 days. From Craigavon to Dungannon, the acute stage and the rehab stage was 47 days. And in Daisy Hill, the rehab and the acute stage is only 17 days. But they kept emphasising that day 7 days. In actual fact, we're only 1/3 of the patients in relation to Craigavon and Dungannon, and we're only half the time between Craigavon and Lurgan. So I think that should be noted. In other words, we can treat our acute patients, rehabilitate them in 17 days. So I think it's very important that that's noted. But she kept emphasising, when I did challenge her, but whenever I got the figures then, I think that should be noted, that we're only 1/3 between Craigavon and Dungannon and 1/2 between Craigavon and Lurgan. And I think that's very important.
Councillor Feeley?
Chairman, yes, I'm not happy with the minutes. They just show that I asked one question. That's not the case. I made commentary on very many issues, particularly the proposed closing of the acute section of the hospital in Daisy Hill, and pointed out the discrimination that exists in spending 500 million on Craigavon Hospital and only 50 million on Daisy Hill, and the effect that the closure of the acute hospital would have on the population of Newry and Mourne, where you have 15,000 people over the age of 65, and as far as South Armagh and Mournes are concerned, it would take those people 3.5 hours to get to Craigavon, provided they could get an ambulance fairly quickly in the first place, which is by no means certain. So I had asked before that important meetings like this with outside bodies should be recorded in full, so that other councillors and indeed ourselves at other meetings would have a reference point as to what was said and what wasn't said, and the answers we got. And that didn't happen, and I'm not happy with that.
Chairman, just for the information of the members, the council has a policy of not recording verbatim its meetings, and what it does is record some of the comments that are made, and we try to include as many of the councillors as we can. So we don't record verbatim, Chairman. We don't, because that is a policy of.
I'm aware of that, Chair. I just made that recommendation at least 6 months ago in relation to meetings that were conducted with outside bodies like commissioning groups that were very important to the future of this council, the future of Daisy Hill Hospital, that they be recorded for that.
Okay. Councillor Hurley?
Aye, thank you, Chairman. Chairman, it's just that the LCG were to come back on a number of issues too, as agreed. You can see it in the minutes. We'll come back with the daycare services in Cross Midland, the provision of a new daycare facility. They will come back to us on that, which they haven't done as yet. And also the issue about domiciliary care workers that I raised with them that day, and they said that they would come back to us, but and I was of the opinion that they were very serious issues that they were going to come back to us fairly shortly, but I don't know whether the council ever received anything from them, but certainly I didn't.
No response yet.
Could we go back to them and follow up and ask why they didn't come back? They're very serious issues for us.
Yep.
Can I just say with those comments?
Councillor Reilly?
Chairman, I was on part 9, and it was about the CLR service. And Chairman, I would like to thank Councillor Quinn for raising this very important issue at that commissioning group. Well, Chairman, over the last weekend, the delay in getting a GP callback from the CLR service has been 11 hours. People being quoted 11 to 12 hours. Now, Chairman, you know, if you have a young child or you somebody who's in a very ill condition and you're told that you'll get a callback from your GP in 11 hours, that's not acceptable. You know, we're meant to be in a modern society where people pay their national insurance, they pay their taxes, and they should be entitled to have a reasonable health service. And Chairman, one of the things that people have been pointing out, that in other areas of the UK, there is this walk-in service. Now, I don't know much about them, but people tell me that if you are a foreign national or you are not on a GP list, that you can actually use these, and that takes the pressure off A&E in casualty in a hospital like Daisy Hill or Craigavon. Now, Craigavon at the weekend was allegedly a 10-hour wait for people as well. I think that's not acceptable, Chairman. And Chairman, I would be very grateful if the council would agree to write to the local commissioning group and ask them to investigate even the possibility of a walk-in service. Now, it should be possible, it should be feasible, because we've got up to 15 GPs who live in the Mourne area. Now, I'm talking about my own ward chairman because I know it better than our one. But if even GPs could take some route, do it on a route basis or whatever, because the system that we have just simply is not working. It's causing anxiety for parents of young children, and it's causing anxiety for the for people with chronic health conditions. And we really do need to try and represent those people, Chairman. So, yeah, thank you, Councillor Taylor. If we can just write the commissioner group chairman and ask for it to be investigated. I know we're financially tight, but if it can be investigated, is it possible to do it here?
Chairman, on Saturday, you probably were between 10 and 15,000 people came on the streets of Public protesting about the downgrade of Down Hospital and their worries about the future of it. I think there are similar concerns, I have to say, about what's happened to Daisy Hill. I would like to know from council officials who were given the task of setting up a public rally on that particular issue. Has there been any moves forward on it?
Just one question. To the hospital, Chairman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ashley, Mohammed, Ashley, would you like to confirm?
Yeah, there's a public meeting scheduled for next Thursday night, that's the 26th of February in Bellini's, and the ads should be going into the paper this week. They should be in tomorrow's paper, tomorrow and Wednesday's papers.
Yeah. Just wondering why the choice of Bellini's when we have maybe somewhere like the sports centre where we had previous public rallies which can hold much bigger crowds than Bellini's.
Well, the reason for that, Chairman, is we didn't want to disrupt the users that we currently have. The sports centre is booked in those occasions, and we thought we take it to that venue.
This is
It's
such an
a
important
issue,
issue.
the venue, Chairman. Huh?
Such an important issue for the people that
It's such a big room, but you go upstairs in the village, which is a massive area as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Just due to the urgency of
I think we should forget Bellini's. It should be the sports centre. And if my memory serves me right, there was what, 2,000 plus at the last big
Sorry,
meeting,
John.
15 or 17 years ago.
At the meeting, it was requested urgently, so we haven't had an opportunity to
Yeah,
get
but
it.
it's the venue, and a councillor's like,
Are you suggesting that we...
yeah, I'm saying that it should be switched to the
Are you
word
suggesting
should be.
we cancel the bookings we had for the sports centre?
Yeah, it should be switched to the sport. Yes, I do, yeah, because this is vitally important, and the councillor's right.
Chairman, for information to the members, you just cannot do that under the licence agreement.
You mean the officials saying you can't do it?
Okay, well,
Who's running this council?
Sorry,
Is it the
John.
councillors or the officials?
Chairman, can we say, Chairman, to the Vice, it is the officials. Yes, the officials are saying because your
Yes,
licence, your
and that's why it's
licence,
not going right.
and we can answer, Chairman, the licence states, Chairman, how long you're allowed to cancel bookings. And if you book outside of that, you're liable to have a claim against you. So if I did not do that, Chairman, and there was a claim, councillors would be saying, why did you do that when you knew that it should be done? So you can't win, Chairman. What we did was, what the council asked for, was an urgent meeting. We've gone out of the way, it's advertised in all the papers this week, and the booking is down. Regardless if it goes there or elsewhere, the chairperson is in the city centre.
Sorry, there was councillor Eddie's. Councillor Brian Quinn was next.
Thank you, Chair. There were several points that I wanted to make. I would have to concur with Councillor Reilly about the welcome clinic, because there is difficulties for people who are fishing and things like that to see a GP. So something like this would be very useful, particularly at weekends. Also, a question that I had asked at the time was the moratorium on the admissions to Slieve Road. Is there, and that question wasn't answered on that day, is there any update on that, or could this council seek an update on it? And finally, with regard to the public meeting, I think yes, we do need a public meeting, but we also need to allow for the people from South Armagh and the Mournes to be able to respond to this. And as we already said, there is big difficulties with finding transport into Newry to attend this type of event. So perhaps we could look at having public meetings in the three areas that this council is divided into.
Councillor Clark.
Yeah, sure. Well, I would agree with Councillor Hyland, first of all, that we need to be pushing on to that. It was asked for some time back. I remember Councillor McArdle before Christmas raising the issue. I'm not sure that Bellini's is the right venue. I have to say that. I would have preferred, and I thought the town hall was mentioned, why would we not, for example, be going to the town hall in Newry?
Well, Chairman, there's a booking on it that night.
There is a booking in the town hall.
Fish on.
Chairman, what we're doing, Chairman, just to explain as well, the meeting was asked for, Chairman.
Yeah.
The meeting was asked for, but the meeting was asked for with a caveat. That meeting would be held with the trade unions and with the council to discuss the agenda. That has been superseded because the request now was calling for a public meeting only on the stroke unit. That's what the last one asked for, Chairman. So there is that difference. I have to emphasise as well, Chairman, we tried to get a venue in the city as quick as, because that one for the stroke unit was only asked for recently, Chairman, and we went ahead and set it up as a matter of business.
But I think if we look at the protest, Marcus, that was in Downpatrick on Saturday, I think it was very effective. It was very well attended. And I think the strength of feeling across Newry and Mourne is just as strong, particularly for the stroke unit in Dizzy Hill. And, but we don't seem to be given it the same urgency, the same push. And I think that's all that John's saying. We've asked for it in plenty of time. Let's go, let's do it, and let people realise the strength of feeling that there is in Newry and the greater Newry area.
Chairman, this was the notice of motion asked by Councillor Feeley at a meeting the fortnight ago. This is where this meeting came from. And the other one, Chairman, I can explain to you after the meeting the rationale of the way that it has been managed, but this one was asked to be superseded, and that's why it was given.
Councillor McKee.
Chairman, Councillor mentioned about the traffic and the rally and the large turnout. I found it, I was there, and I was disappointed at the number of councillors who represented it either down or Newry to show their strength. But obviously, if we were to call a rally here, we're expecting the councillors down in St. Patrick's to be part of it. But certainly, if we're going to form any sort of rally, we need to be talking to the people in St. Patrick, because the turnout was unbelievable. Even I read in the paper about expecting 20 sectors to head to Cavalcade. There were somewhere like 120. It was the greatest show of strength have you seen. And 12,000, maybe 15,000 here talked about it. So I'm only saying, if they're going to do it, somewhere big venue, Bellini, not everybody will go to it. They need somewhere big, somewhere different.
You take back to that a little.
Okay, Councillor Number 10 is conference to CLR and this invitation also highlighted. Again, anybody who wishes to attend that can do so through the council commissioner. Or anybody who wants to indicate the name. Right, put the hand up first. Okay, items for noting number 11, the reported dispatch letter on the 10th of December. Proposed by Councillor Curran, seconder. Councillor Patterson, Councillor Curran.
Yeah, Chair, two items arising at that meeting. And one which caused concern, and I don't think we're any closer to getting a resolution of it, is the right-of-way. A right-of-way which will probably become the main entrance into that facility, and certainly will be the pedestrian entrance. And I'm asking this council to immediately resolve that issue, because it just looks like a wasteland. But I'm also asking, Chair, that the council would upgrade it with lights, and very importantly, if any of the council officials is listening, I would ask that not only is it upgraded with lights, but also with CCTV. We've seen a very serious assault at the end of January in it, and we've seen a man killed in it. And now we'll be expecting young fellas and young girls and old alike to use that alleyway. And it's well known as an antisocial hotspot for dealing drugs and assaults. Or do we wait until someone is killed or raped on it and then maybe we'll close it off because that's a convenient thing, instead of upgrading it, lighting it well, putting proper CCTV in it, making people safe, because that's how they're going to get to our new pool. They're not going to walk up any of those other roads. It's much easier and much handier that way. Sure, the other item is to do with the knocking down of the old pool, and on record it's been opposed to that. If any one of us here owned that building, we would not be knocking it down. Anybody who owned that building would not be knocking it down, because it would be such an advantage for any of the other sports what we don't cater for. But what I'm concerned about is that we still don't know how much it's going to cost to knock that down. And we're flippantly being told, well, we'll not know until we start. So it could be 100,000, it could be $1 million, and it could be 2 million. And the ratepayers just expected to sit back and let officials hand this out to some contractor who'll just think of a number, double it, and that's what the ratepayers will pay. This would not happen in private industry, where someone's asked to knock down a building and they can't even give an estimate, never mind an exact figure. And it just seems that the council's a broad table, and it doesn't matter. None of the officials is paying for it. The ratepayers don't care, or they're that stupid they can be duped into it.
Councillor Patterson.
Yes, thanks, Chairman. Could maybe Jared or Eddie give us an update on when the opening of the pool will be? That's another number of things people have been asking. Because the last meeting we had on the 19th, it was February or March. Is that date still?
Chairman, there are negotiations are going on with the developer with the possibility of the building being handed over to the council in the middle to the latter part of March. The council then has planned in the diary an official opening on the 27th of March, and the council staff will be trained. The Newry swimming pool will be closed for approximately 1 week, and the new pool will not open for 1 month. As they would be trained in the new pool, so you'll be estimating the opening of the new pool would be the middle to the latter end of April.
The reason why I asked that, Chairman, was that even in the December meeting was because a number of the members of the council, officers and councillors who were very active in getting the pool to the stage it is would like to be there for the official opening.
The next opening will be on the 27th of March.
And that'll be the official.
Yeah, that'll be the official.
Mr. Chairman, were we not told a couple of months ago that it was opening officially on the 20th of February? So when we weren't informed when the date was changed?
Are you disappointed?
Well, I would hope that the councillors who have spent an awful lot of their life serving the people of Newry and Mourne, that we would have the privilege before we're kicked out of being present. Yeah, but we were given a date a couple of months, the 20th of February. Is there something wrong with your memory, Minister?
Item number 12, report of Cropling Borough Councillor meeting on the 12th of February. The proposal for the year of the Councillor Jar. Okay, Councillor Jar.